What up, gang? Shout out to all my thugs, nerds, geeks, and freaks. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to all the previous content over the past couple weeks, man. It really feels good to see the likes, the comments, the shares, and etc. So today, I wanted to chat with y'all, man, about just the game itself, man. I've been seeing a lot of commentary on the internet about the game's lack of content or the fact that the game might have become easy or the game in some people's opinion has always been easy, even in the hard mode servers that they recently just released. And so I just wanted to drop my thoughts and opinions on that and what I think the game is actually suffering from. So yeah, rock with your boy, man. Let's figure this thing out. So for me, just to get it out of the way, no, I don't think the game is too easy. All right. What I do think, however, is that the game suffers from a bit of power creep. Um, and I think the overall idea that the devs have about the seasonal and scenario content and about the fresh wipes after each scenario before entering a new scenario, I think that was just pretty much set to prevent power creep. And if you aren't used to games like Destiny or Division, these looter shooters with stackable uh, damage values and gear and guns, etc. What ends up happening is that just over the course of time, the player ends up becoming stronger than the content that he's facing. All right, so basically, just over the time of gaining new gear, new guns, new weapon types, and damage types, etc., the player just becomes too strong for the content, and the content doesn't seem as difficult. And I think we're suffering from a little bit of that, not because we got new gear, new guns, and new weapons, because obviously we haven't, but it's more the way we gain HP and the star system on the weapons that lead to our version of power creep. And also, too, you have to take into account that we are replaying um, the same scenario for, I want to say, the second or third time. Um, and if you're even moving to the new Prisms versus Clash, it's ideally the same map. So you know where the sweet spots are, you know where the good things are, and you know what to do. And that in itself is a level, is a version of power creep, right? So XP, how we level. So basically, everything you do in the game will garner you XP, and XP is general. So XP goes into a general pool. That general pool moves up the level. The thing though is that level directly correlates to um, what kind of armor you can make. So the armor and the weapons are made in tiers. And if you've been playing the game, you know how this goes. But if you're level 10, you can make tier 2 gear, right? And if you're level 40, you can make tier 5 gear, which tier 5 is our highest at this current time. And so the phases lock the player behind certain content. So in phase one, you only have roughly half the map. We have three monoliths, and so basically you're able to uh, face enemies at max level 30, 32-ish, depending on how far you can get into the map without getting pushed back or how much content you face. But the highest levels you can face in phase one will be roughly level 30. That leaves all the level 40, 50, and 60 enemies for phase two and beyond, right? The issue then comes in when players have went through so much of the content and done so much of the content. You start to just gain passive levels, and then you can also do things like create salt farms or craft a bunch of fishing rods by making a bunch of advanced benches, or stuff like that, making a bunch of stoves to craft salt, making a bunch of furnaces to craft minerals and ores. And those things passively give you XP that directly impacts what type of weapon you can make or what type of gear. So in essence, you can have players moving into phase two, right, at level 45, right? Where the enemies that they'll be facing are in the 30s, but the player has actually max leveled or is fairly close to being max level. Creating a situation where as soon as the phase opens, the player can create a new bench and then you can create max level gear, dwarfing, right, the content. And then at that point, the game feels easy, right? Because you're so much stronger than the content in front of you that the game just feels like it's a walk in the park. And I think we suffer from that a little bit, even if it's our own fault, right? Because one thing about players that you must understand that if you give a player an option to do something, the player will do it, even if it's at the detriment of his own gameplay, right? So, for instance, the salt farms and the fishing rod farms, a player will create those farms at his own detriment of gameplay. And and then later say, man, this game is too easy. So I think as devs, you have to take that into the consideration. And I think this will lead the devs to using the N word. And no, I don't mean nerd, I mean nerf. So in my estimation, this will lead the devs to in order to balance this system, they will need to like maybe nerf the amount of XP that you gain from those mundane tasks later on in the game, right? So that you don't use those tasks to circumvent your leveling, and then provide more XP when a player does dungeons or silos or prime wars or public crisis events, and that will balance those out, giving players a reason to do those tasks versus the other tasks. And I think this will create more uh, symmetry between players, and I think this will liven up the events a little more if players know they can get tons of XP from those events versus getting equal XP from just creating a salt farm or making a bunch of fishing rods or whatever the case may be. Um, so that's the XP factor. There's also the stars factor, right? So if you play through the whole novice season, right, and you start up a weapon, maybe you took your uh, SoCar last battle, you got it to 2 stars or whatever, and then you replay the season and you come into the season with a 2 star SoCar versus the 1 star SoCar you had last season, you're inherently stronger, right? And so the content is inevitably the same, and the HP pools for the enemies are roughly the same, but you now are stronger based on the mods that you collected in the previous season and the weapon now that you have and the gear that you start up. So if you're running a gear set that's like shelter set that's strong on elemental and status damages, and you have high PSI that you've baked into that gear set, you're going to be stronger overall as a player because the psi intensity feeds directly into the elemental and the status damage of most builds, and that in itself is going to make you stronger. So there are a few places um where the game allows power creep just within itself, right? Even though it's gone out of its way to create a balanced system where a player can start fresh and the enemies can feel engaging and fresh, it kind of circumvent that by allowing us to boost our players. So that's something I would like to see the devs address in the future, just to create a more even and balanced play. Also, just take a look at the phases. And I know that this is the first season, this is the first scenario. Phases may change, phases will get longer, phases may be shorter. I do understand all that, but just taking an overall look at the issues that plagued us this time about people feeling like after phase 3 there wasn't much to do up until phases 4 or 5 because of the content and the difficulty or lack thereof of that content. So yeah, man, that's all I got to say about the subject, man. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Drop a comment below, like the video, sub, share it, do all the stuff you've been doing. I ain't gonna tell you what to do because you've been holding me down. I'm not gonna lie. I do have another video coming out, a video for the Prison versus Clash PvP event. It's gonna be using the corrosive shotgun. And, yeah, and one of the new sets that we haven't really used, and I haven't really seen anybody use this set before, so I'll be giving it a shot to see if it works out in PvP. Stay tuned, man, and like I said, man, drop a like, drop a comment, let me know what you think, man, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.